Ok, buenas tardes. Why are we speaking about private companies? So, if you speak to Italian company about biodiversity, they think about the biodiversity of pasta. We call it the pasta index. And for those that do not like pasta, they like wine. And you see the variety of wine and grapes in Italy. And if you put all the products together, you have a huge biodiversity that is impossible even to read. Now, I am sure I have increased the stereotype of Italian always speaking about food. Now, after, I can teach you also how to increase the stereotype of Italian using strange gestures, okay? Now, I'm joking, okay? I'm joking. But the point is that this biodiversity is reflecting the fact that Italy is hosting 50% of the endangered species of Europe. And here you see the map. Because there is a huge diversity. In Sicily, you have almost a desert. You have alluvial plains, and you have a huge mountain like you have here in Colombia. See, we have 43 different types of forest. So very complex to manage, not as complex as Colombia. But we are getting, in Europe, for sure the most complex situation. And then, the most important things. The economic biodiversity. This is the map of the gross domestic product of Europe. Blue means very rich areas. Red means poor areas. And you can see that in Italy we are dealing with every situation you find in Europe. And why the richness of an area is important? Because if you want a company to invest, you need to look for areas where they have money to invest. If a company can even struggle to stay in the market, of course, it's even difficult to take care of biodiversity. And in any case, Italy is the ninth world economy. So it's very relevant. But there is a problem. Italy is the second European country for responsibility of deforestation. We import a lot of food to transform and re-export leathers. We are the biggest country in the world for leather transformation, which come also from Colombia, Brazil. And so Italian company has a huge responsibility on this. So we ask the companies, one company out of four, 25%, they are already looking at the impacts of the damage of biodiversity on their business. It's not so much if you think, okay? We have a long way to do. But 48% of this company, they will do it in 5 years. Why? Because the European Commission is pushing very hard. Is asking all the companies to tell to the world not just their revenues, but also the impact they have on biodiversity, carbon, climate, and so on. And only one out of three is including biodiversity in their reporting, but only 20% are using the official reporting or the commissions, which is entering into force now. But in few years, we will have 4,000 companies by 2028 that will have to take in consideration biodiversity, and they will reflect, those are the biggest companies, they will reflect their decision in the remaining company, which are 600,000 companies in Italy. Okay, now, we pick 2-3 cases to show you what the Italian companies are doing. What prevent the companies from doing restoration of biodiversity? Lack of clear rules and lack of data and information. That means that events like this one are very important. because we provide them the urgent need. And what will facilitate support of public funding and tax incentives? Of course, it's a very simple. Many companies in Europe are moving to renewable energy because there are incentives. Why the state is not putting an incentive for company to restore biodiversity? That is the way. What are we waiting for? Case studies to show you. Italian winemakers. This is a magic company. Is a farm, Cecchetto. They were born from biodiversity. They have the idea to restore one grape to make wine that was lost. They collect the few grapes remaining and they recreate a new wine. But that wine is so strong that to make it drinkable, you need to store it in mulberry. Mulberry is a tree. In mulberry wood, because the wood is making the wine more drinkable. And then mulberry is even a tree that in Europe is facing problems. And then what this company is doing is having a nature positive roadmap. And as a winemaker, they own also forests. So they start restore their forests from invasive species. And then they didn't stop there, but they start supporting pollinators with grassland cover. And then, of course, they are also responsible for the past impacts. And so they are restoring forests in Brazil, in Vietnam, all across the globe. Of course, all of this has a lot of methodologies. So they calculate all the impact with the life cycle assessment. They make strategy using the SBTN. They report using GRI, and their forests are certified FSC. But they didn't stop there. They also involve local communities. What you see on top right is that when this is a season of harvesting, they involve all the association with the people with disabilities. Second example, Alcenero is the biggest organic food producer in Italy. Roughly 100 million turnover of euro every year of organic products. And they sell now 400 products on e-commerce, and they have converted 10,000 hectares of land to organic farm. But they didn't stop there. They have an entire supply chain that goes from the farm to the e-commerce. And so what they decide to do is that they took a natural positive roadmap and they start taking care of the farm, putting more trees, wetlands, water restorations, and now they are facing the most difficult part, the one of dealing with their products, which are mostly fair trade certified, but still the impacts on biodiversity are unknown. Now, these are food. This is food sector. And believe me, I've seen very little organization of the food sector here at the COP. And the food is the biggest responsible of the loss of deforestation. So for the next COP, we need to target the food producers, the food processor company, okay? And last but not least, just not to stay with the small, medium enterprises, Next Energy Group is a group, the biggest European group for renewable energies, operating all across the globe with more than 250 photovoltaic cells. But you know, renewable energies still has a lot of impact. You need to have the metal, you need to have the material to create the photovoltaic panels. Thus, they set a commitment of zero natural conversion, plus every site they make a biodiversity management plan in order to reduce the impacts, mitigate, and then restore nearby areas. Because you need to know, it's very important that there is a huge difference between biodiversity, carbon, water impacts. 1 ton emitted here in Cali today, in 2 days, will be in India. But that's not the same for water. That's not the same for biodiversity. Water, you need to work at the water basin level, biodiversity at the habitat level. So near where you have your impact or where your supply has the impact. And now they are going for a net gain restoration strategy. Of course, here the methods get quite complicated, but always life cycle assessment, SBTN, TNFD, and then with the project they use verify impacts with the FSC, Ecosystem Services Procedure. You can take your phone, scan there, so that you can download the report, which is of course in English, so hopefully most of you will be able. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. The lecturer about gestures is after the. Thank you.
We have time for a couple of questions, and then for technical reasons we need to have about a 10-minute break. So, a few questions, unas preguntas, si alguien tiene, tenemos unos 5 minutos.
Hi, yeah. So many thanks for your presentation. It's great the examples that you bring from a European country where there's also a lot of regulations and, as you said, incentives pushing companies to act. Can you say something about what could also be done in the Global South or in Colombia more specifically? Thank you.
Yeah. But what I brought here some Italian case, but we do work at world level, and we are also working south to south with companies. I think the first important point is start from where there is the concentration of wealth, where there are the areas which are more rich, because there you will have the companies maybe willing to open also and to be careful about this topic. So if it's Colombia, I would say Bogota area, Medellin area, Cali area, okay? Don't start making purposing restoration projects which are in an area without impact of companies, okay? Start from that. And then the other will come. Second point, in the south there is a lot of production of raw materials and then go to the north or somewhere else. So targeting those products, because the company which are importing, they are most likely, they have policies and they are willing and more responsive to listen to biodiversity conservation projects. And then, I mean, that change, what I've seen here in Colombia, there is a lot of environmental consciousness respect to other countries. So I think also the population is ready to step up, is ready to participate and to ask for that.
Thank you. How do you think policy or government and policy has a role to push on businesses? You talk about European Union, but the case of Guatemala is quite different, or the case of Central America. So what are your suggestions on that?
Yeah, there are 2-3 types of policies that works very well. The easiest one is like the union is asking the organization just to say whether they're doing or not doing something. They're not forcing to reach a level, just they say, please tell me whether beyond making good money you are also doing something with. Is disclosure. So that is the basic with a little cost for everybody, and that will already stimulate more attention. Then, as I say during the presentation, incentives. We are giving incentives even to oil companies. Why don't provide incentives for the companies that are restoring nature? Okay? Why don't allow the companies that invest in nature to pay less taxes? Okay? This is another way. And then there is the strong way, the one of setting rules, so using sticks. Okay? We call sticks, no? Not carrots, but sticks. And that has to be careful because you can do it, but you need to be sure to be able to control. Because if it's like in Italy where we have tons of law and nobody's controlling, doesn't make really sense, you know.